I want a triple grande non-fat milk and heavy whipping cream with 2 scoops of chocolate chips and sugar-free chocolate syrup mocha frappe.
Okay, ma'am. 1 triple grande, half non-fat milk, half heavy whipping cream with 2 scoops of chocolate chips and sugar-free chocolate syrup mocha frappuccino.
No, it's a frappe.
Oh, okay. Just to let you know, ma'am. Here, a frappe is called a frappuccino.
No, it is not. Are you the dumbest barista ever?
Ma'am, that's not polite. I was simply
You
trying...
are an imbecile and the worst barista I've ever met. I want to speak to the manager!
Ma'am, I am the manager. Hey guys, welcome back to Dumb Culture. My name is Michael. This is commentary about how dumb culture currently is. In this podcast, guys, we're going to talk about everything from dating to politics, from pop culture to history. So sit back and let's have a discussion about entitlement. Are we all entitled? Now, before we get too far, guys, if you want to add anything to the conversation, if you want to give me any kind of feedback, advice, information, clarification, confirmation, observation, or even objectification, or you just want to say, hey, you idiot, you can leave a comment below or send me a DM at McDougle's mine on all social media. And by this point, guys, I'm pretty certain if you've watched all the videos, you've got a feel for who I am. I am nobody special. I do not have a degree in anything. I'm just a guy that likes to read, and I have, I wouldn't say a lot, but some good life experiences. And seeing the world as it is today, I want to talk about stuff like this and really get the dialogue open, because I see a lot of people that just they just want to whine and bicker, and they don't want to do anything about the problems we're facing in our current society. So I'm here to talk about it, and let's begin this. So if we look at Merriam-Webster's definition of entitlement, guys, it states that it is the belief that one is deserving of or entitled to certain privileges. And in this context, guys, let's go ahead and define entitle itself. So entitle means, again, by Merriam-Webster, to furnish with proper grounds of seeking or claiming something. In layman's terms, guys, that's when a person is of the belief that they are owed, item X, whatever item X is, whether it's an actual title, whether it's a treatment of sorts, or, it could be a Sunday afternoon donut, I guess. But yeah, this is something in our modern world, guys, that we need to talk about more, is how entitled we are, how many privileges all of us have, not just one type of people, not just one. No, I'm trying to tread lightly, because I know there's a lot of controversy around modern day privileges, and I want to stay clear of the secular stuff of that, guys. I'm talking about everybody around the world, no matter what country you live in, so long as you live in a first world country. And most first world countries are predominantly in the Western world. And sorry, my iPad keeps closing down. And yeah, let's move on to this, guys. So again, let's go back to the definition that a person is of the, or layman terms, sorry, a person is of the belief that they are owed something. The word entitled or entitlement pretty much came from the more ancient world of probably about 1,000 years ago or so. I don't know the actual etymology, so any of you guys out there that know this better than I, leave a comment. But it would be when commoners would use the word entitled or entitlement of the noble class, of the aristocrats, because it was the commoners that did all the downright dirty and, hard manual labor. And just because someone was born in a higher station, they thought, hey, I don't have to do this crappy job because I am entitled. So yeah, it's pretty much self-explanatory, guys. And now, something more modern day, and this is something I see across the line, is that a lot of people are of the mindset that they should be treated as equals to their superiors. And that could be superiors at a job, that could be superiors in a sporting event, that could be superiors of, I don't know, video games. It's like we have this saying where we want not equality, but equality of outcome, where someone cannot excel, someone cannot exceed more so than someone else, which I think is going to be a problem. And then at a later date, I want to do a breakdown of talking about the differences between capitalism and socialism, because a lot of people really don't know the differences. There are good and bad things about capitalism. There are good and bad things about socialism. My personal opinion is I would prefer to be in a capitalistic state instead of a socialistic state. And that's my personal opinion. We'll touch that topic at a later date, guys, but let's get back to being entitled. And going back to it, guys, are we really supposed to be equals to our superiors? Like, everybody has this mindset that CEOs shouldn't get paid more than a janitor. However, that's just talking about pay. How many times, just like the intro video, have you seen, a entry-level person, someone that works the low man on the totem pole in an office, go into like a coffee shop or a sandwich shop and just absolutely tear the person down that's trying to take their order, for no reason other than they feel entitled to and that they can. And I think it's very weird in our society that we have this mindset that we deserve the same amount of pay as someone above us, but we don't want to give the same amount of respect to someone not even necessarily below us. Heck, there are some jobs in a restaurant scenario you can make more money than an entry-level office worker. I mean, yeah, if you've ever worked a fairly busy restaurant on a weekend, Friday night, a Saturday night, sometimes on a Sunday morning, you can make good money so long as the people are tipping well. And that's a whole nother discussion for another day, talking about the pay rates of restaurants versus tipping. But yeah, hopefully you guys get the idea of what I'm talking about. But so what gives us this modern day entitlement, guys? Why do we have these weird thoughts of entitlement? Our ancestors went through hell, and we can't go back in time and read, somebody's mind, but I'm fairly certain it would be no one back then was as entitled and privileged as any of us alive in a first world country today. And so let's look at this, guys. I've got a breakdown here where religion, where we get like a whole bunch of different ideologies from religion, where we feel entitled to put our beliefs out there, that people should believe the same way we do. And I can't really call out any one religion, guys, because there's a lot of religions that almost force themselves. And here, of course, in the Western world, it's mainly Christianity. But I can't overlook, the Muslim theologies and ideologies. I can't overlook some of the Buddhist ideologies. I can't overlook some of the Hinduism and other religions, because there's billions of them out there, and I just don't have the time to read about them all. But I would absolutely love to. So let's move on from religion. Let's look at constitutional declared rights, or constitutionally, sorry, I have that wrong in my notes. Constitutionally declared rights. So in each country, we have different things that make us feel entitled to having. And you can make the argument that a right is the accurate portion of entitlement, but where do you draw the line? Like here in the United States, as I'm an American, we have the rights to guns. We can go out and, every state's supposed to do a background check. So doing the proper channels, it should take probably about 2 hours to buy a gun. Maybe an hour if the person is on both ends is real quick at doing the paperwork. So when you're sent to prison here in the United States, if you have incarceration or anything, you lose that right to have a gun. So you can get that expunged if good behavior and everything like that. But if you don't get it expunged, you lose that right. You lose that privilege. It is no longer an entitlement. So where do we draw the line there? Let's look at the next one, guys. So locally held beliefs. This is from here in the United States, we have states, and each state has its own laws, and each town within a state can kind of change the laws to fit how they want, and not only just laws like uh, public decency, like how do you act in certain scenarios, what's appropriate, uh, trying to think of an example off the top of my head, and I can't really think of an example, but hopefully you guys understand what I mean by that. There's a more local based, like logically driven ideas in your head of what you're entitled to. Like if you're, living by a beach, you're entitled to, hey, I'm going to go take a stroll by the beach. I live in the mountains of Tennessee. I can't just walk over to a beach because I don't live next to a beach. I do live next to mountains. I've got a mountain just outside of my window here. But, that's just an example of something local, guys. Let's move on from that and let's look at personal experiences. And this is to each individual person. What are you entitled to? This could be, we'll touch these topics a little bit more later on, but stuff like getting your favorite Starbucks drink, getting your expected, your hot sandwich from your favorite shop made the exact way that you like it. If it's not made correctly, you are entitled to get mad and go back. Kind of what I was talking about earlier, just chew out the person that made it or took the order. And yeah, that's kind of the four main categories, guys, where we get our modern day entitlement from. And I just think it's interesting to look at stuff like that because people tend not to think about that. Because again, in the United States, being in Tennessee, if I was to go out to Oregon, they would have different everything in their head. There are generic things that as Americans we all believe and expect, but there are things like grits. If I went to a breakfast restaurant and I wanted grits, for those of you that don't know what grits are, I don't know what they are either, but I know if I put honey in it, I love it. I know that if I go, I feel entitled that, hey, I can go in this breakfast restaurant and order grits. And if they tell me, oh, what the heck is grits? We don't know. We have never carried grits. And I get in, my entitled boots and get mad. Who doesn't have grits? And stuff like that. And it's just an example, but that's the four main categories, guys. All right, so let's move on. Now, I want to look kind of at some more abstract parts of entitlement in our modern culture. Like a lot of the Western world believes that we're all free, that we all have the right to freedom. We are entitled to our freedom. But at what extent do we have freedom? At what extent do we lose our freedom? We're entitled to it, but it doesn't mean we actually get to have freedom. And if you know the conversation of freedom and anarchy, it can go in very different directions. Like freedom, you have the freedom, you have the right to safety in freedom. But if you have anarchy, you don't have the right to safety, because that's what anarchy is the risk of something bad happening at the expense of having the freedom of it happening. That make any sense? All right, so that's one thing to talk about. Next one, let's talk about, do we have the right to live, the right to life? Now, there's some pretty big controversies in the Western world. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the one word, but I'm pretty certain you guys could understand the right to live. So I don't want to say that word. But moving on from that controversial topic, at what level do we have the right to live? Do we have the right to basic necessities? Or do we have the right to living like a wealthy celebrity? I mean, these are things we're going to have to talk about, and that's why, again, I really want to do a capitalism versus socialism thing, because there's a lot of things about socialism people just don't understand and they haven't thought about. And yeah, that kind of ties in with that, but we'll, again, do that at a later date. Moving forward, some more kind of loosely based abstract things in our society, like the right to internet. I see a lot of people out there thinking, oh, United States and any of the European countries, we have the right to be on the internet because social media and paying bills and it's a wealth of knowledge and my phone's going off like crazy. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I mean, just look at Elon Musk and Starlink. He's trying to give everybody in the world access to internet, and it's I get it, but at the same point, are people do they all people have the right to the internet? Do I even have the right to internet? To be honest with you, I don't think so. That's again, guys, I want to show you my book collection that's down the hallway in my living room, but I've got a set of encyclopedias that I've had for years now, and as a kid, it's not the same set I had as a kid because those are back at my parents' house, but that's what we had. I did not grow up with the internet, guys. I don't know where the stigma that all millennials grew up with the internet, because I was born in 85 and I didn't even see the internet till my mid-teens. Like, I'd heard of it. My father works in the computer field, so he knew about it and had access to it at his jobs, but it was nothing like we know it now. In fact, I would dare say the internet as it is now did not exist till like 2008. Maybe I'll push it back to 2004, but that's iffy because I think that's when Facebook officially launched, back when you had to have a college email to log on to Facebook. It wasn't just any and everybody log on there. But yeah, so internet's one thing. Transportation. Do we have the right to transportation? And I'm trying to separate my usage of right and entitlement, guys, because I do believe they are two very different things. And that's why I'm trying to list these more as entitlements than rights, because rights to me are, you can't take them away. Entitlements means you are of the belief of having them. So are we of the belief we should have internet? Are we of the belief we should have transportation? I don't think so, guys. If you know anything about my current situation, I just went through a period where for about a month I did not have a vehicle. I only had my bicycle, and that was an iffy ride if I needed to go to the grocery store for anything. So, yeah. I don't think I'm of that belief that we have a right to, transportation. Do we have the right to items of luxury? What are items of luxury? Let's name off a few. Fancy cafe drinks and items, bakeries and coffees and such. Smartphones, are we entitled to have every single new phone that comes out? Because I know a lot of people, as soon as a phone comes out, they're like, oh man, I've got, something from 2 years ago. This is terrible. Ah! And they go all crazy with it. And it's like, I don't know, guys. I bought a new phone last year just because I was going to Ireland and I wanted a nice phone. But this will be my last smartphone, probably for a while, because I don't see a point in it anymore. On a basic flip phone, you can now jump on the internet, and really the only thing I use it for is, from time to time, I'll use it to check here on YouTube, but very rarely am I not at home checking that on the computers. And also, I use it to log into my bank account and check how much money. I mean, I can just pull my checkbook out and keep track of my checkbook the old way. So it's not that difficult, but it is convenient. It's more convenient, and I think a lot of people will get entitlement or rights confused with convenience. Convenience just makes life easier. But again, moving forward, guys, let's look at high-end fashion. Do we have the right to wear all the fancy, I don't know, I'm not a fashionista. Ralph Lauren, is that super fancy? I don't know. Other Tommy Hilfiger, what was the thing when I was growing up? It was Abercrombie and Fish. Should we all be wearing Abercrombie and Fish? Are we entitled to that? Should we be able to go out there and just look at my clothes, I'm a good looking man or woman or whatever, however you want to say that. But again, guys, these are just examples, and I've got a whole list of them, so we'll just knock them out real quick. Should we ever go hungry? Do we have the right? Are we entitled to always have food? And I am not a doctor, Again, guys, I am not a doctor, but doctors say a healthy person can go 8 days without food and not really have any terrible bad side effects. You'll probably have a headache and you'll definitely feel hunger pains, but 8 days, it's like, that's a part of fasting in some parts of the world where they fast for 7 or 8 days, and it's supposed to help with digestion. Even in the Bible, it talks about fasting, and whether it's for spiritual reasons or that it helps the body, I'll let you guys figure that one out. But I mean, it is out there. Yeah, and should we have going off of never being hungry and the items of luxury? Do we have the right to eat all these high caloric foods? Are we entitled to eat them? Like, are we just sitting there if someone puts a Twinkie in front of us, a Twix? I'm guilty with Reese's myself. If someone puts a Reese's in my face, it's hard for me. I just had a friend at work offer me a Reese's the other day. And guys, I gained some weight from the surgery because, I couldn't move for a few months. And I'm trying to lose weight right now. And so I wanted to eat that Reese's. I just wanted to tear into that thing. But yeah, had to say no because I don't feel entitled to eat it. I don't think that it's my duty and my right, my belief to, devour a Reese's if it's presented to me. A lot of people are, and that's why I bring it up. I'm trying to be as simplistic on these as I can, guys, but there's a lot of stuff. And actually, let's go ahead and cut it there because I've got a whole bunch of other things, and I want to dive into our entertainment. We are of the belief that we should have accessible, exceptional entertainment. And I want you to think about all of the books, movies, songs, video games, yada, 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 that people feel entitled to, oh my gosh, this wasn't as good as I expected. This is terrible. It's got a 0, but it really, out of 10 stars should have a 7. But because you're not going to give it 10 stars, you're not going to give it any stars. And that's something I think is starting to become a very big problem in our society, is that we're of the belief that everything should be exceptional. I just don't think that's true. Now, granted, we should always strive for exceptionality, but is that even a word, exceptionality? Catch me in the comments with that, guys. But we should strive for it, but if we don't achieve it, I think there's nothing wrong with being mediocre. Some people, it's one of those things, guys, that's hard in life in general to determine whether or not mediocrity and exceptionalism, which one is good, which one is bad, because I think they both have their place and they both have a reason for being a factor in our life. It's whether or not you want to challenge mediocrity and rise to exceptionalism. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there, guys. So with all that said, what does being entitled have to do with our lives? Are we not appreciative of everything around us? Because I feel like entitlement is not realizing or having appreciation for certain aspects of life. And I think a lot of that comes from, guys, people just simply are not happy with life. And again, going back to the intro cartoon I made where the woman, the Karen, is tearing apart the barista. Oh, hold on, guys. I lost my place. My notes are all over the place. I'm sorry. But professionalism, Mike. Professionalism. But Karen was there pretty much to show that she probably, every Karen in the world, when she snaps, has an issue in the back of her mind that she's chewing out someone else. She's venting her frustrations on them. And I keep hitting the table and I'm trying to stop that, but she's venting her frustrations out on somebody because she's simply not happy with some aspects of her life. And I want to dive into that real quick, guys. There's a lot of philosophers out there that talk about what is happiness. And instead of naming every single one and every single theory out there, the generality of it is happiness is more of a state that you choose to be in than a state achieved. Does that make sense? And specifically, the one philosopher I want to look at is Voltaire. I hope I'm saying that right. I have his books over in the living room, but I've never actually watched a video about Voltaire, so I'm hoping I'm saying that right. But Voltaire is quoted as saying, let's see, where's he at here? I have chosen to be happy, for it is good for my health. And the takeaway from that, guys, is you go after the things that make you happy. And we're not talking about hedonism now, so don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with certain aspects of hedonism. I think we're all familiar with the carnal aspect, and that's not what I'm talking about. Kids, if you're watching this, you'll figure that one out later in life. So you shouldn't be watching this, but if you are, you should be, out having fun playing with other friends, not sitting here listening to an old man talk about life. But yeah, what makes us happy? And part of that, guys, I want to look at the word, I don't even know how to pronounce this word, Eudaimonia. Eudaimonia? Eudaimonia is an ancient Greek word which means the state of being happy, which is a virtue. And a lot of the older philosophers, Aristotle, Aristotle, then or not them, but before was Plato, before Plato was Socrates. They talk about it is your right, your duty, you are entitled to go after what makes you happy. And I think that's lost in our modern day because it's not so much about going and jumping in a pile of leaves. It's not so much cracking open a fresh beer or soda. It's more about learning appreciation. Does that make sense? Where the way I look at it, guys, it's about going more through a struggle and coming out on the end of it stronger. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you make yourself weak momentarily to make yourself stronger in the long run. Something more akin to that. Where, and what I have written here in my notes, guys, is often what we think makes us happy is not eventually what makes us happy. It's the journey and the struggles we went through that teaches us appreciation and makes us happy. And I think Miley Cyrus had a song about that, The Climb, I believe. You guys can say what you want about Miley Cyrus. I'm not here to be morality police, but it is a good song. And she talks about the climb. It's not the end, it's the journey. And a lot of book writers, a lot of journalists, a lot of whatever people, philosophers have said that time and time and time again. And I want to get that message out there. It is more about the journey than the destination. Though the destination is important. But, if you shoot for the moon, you shoot for the moon, you miss, and you go out into the stars, you miss the stars, but you become a part of the stars. And I think that's what matters and what we're trying to get at in this topic here, guys. So, final thoughts on this, guys. Learn to appreciate more things in life. Get out there, struggle. And I'm not talking about, be depressed. I'm not talking about, needing mental help. That's a topic for someone else, not me. I am not a psychiatrist. Go watch Jordan Peterson or someone else if you want to learn how to mentally, what's the word? Mentally better yourself. But learn to appreciate. Learn to appreciate your health, the well-being of others, and knowing how to handle stress correctly. I think that's the key to life, guys. And talking about how all of us are entitled. I'm entitled to, believe that I have the right to be happy, but I do not have the right, the entitlement, the belief. I am not of the belief that I shouldn't suffer either. And I think a lot of people forget that suffering is a needed aspect of life. Without suffering, you simply cannot grow as a person. And again, guys, I'm not talking about suffering through with depression, suffering through in this aspect of like breaking your body, broken bones and stuff like that. It's more about, you know, strengthening your mental resolve and stuff like that. But again, guys, this is it. That was my final thoughts on it, and I don't know why I said again, but yeah. I wanted to keep this one short, guys, because the last one was 40 minutes long because we had a lot of topics to cover, and I know a lot of people tried to watch it, and I've got a few comments saying that it was just too long, and I'm going to try and do timestamps from here on out, guys. But thanks for watching. I've got more topics coming. Remember, guys, I am back to work, and just to give you an idea, this past week I worked my first week back after 7 months off. I worked 60 hours. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time trying to animate, do these videos, and focus on my job, where I am now officially in a leadership position at work. So I'm not giving up, but it's gonna get tight on time to do this, focus on, because I still want to make cartoons and all, because that's primarily why I'm here, guys. I want to make cartoons, but I just see a whole bunch of things going on in the world today, and I felt like I needed to say something. I didn't know what at first, and I think I was watching a lot of videos from the wrong people, so I stopped watching their videos. I had time off to reflect and think about it, and this is what's on my mind and what's in my heart, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Later.